I was invited along for a fishing trip with a few friends from high school whom I hadn't seen in 3 years. Fishing used to be our hobby and escape from reality. We created many wonderful memories at the beach throughout our vacation weekends. We would miss classes while we were in school so that we could spend the day at the beach. For 3 troubled kids, it was occasionally the only solace. As life went on, we all got busy in our lives. The monthly meetup was always postponed due to one of us being busy. As much as I longed to meet them, we were all confined by work. After all, we weren't teenagers anymore who could live carefree and neglect everything else like we used to do. I was thrilled as we were finally going to meet after a long time. 3 years had passed without meeting them, and I hadn't even realized it. We planned this trip over 4 months ago, but I was unable to fulfill my part due to the intense work. After graduating college, I needed a job to pay for myself. My father owns a car firm, so I've always had a fascination with automobiles. My father had taught me a lot about it, and I was interested in pursuing it professionally. I was beyond ecstatic to know that one of my friends from college was also interested in this field. Me and my partner from college invested together in a car repair business, and we successfully ran it over a few years. It was going well, and I gained some great experience from it. I knew we were doing great, but I required something big. I wanted to accomplish a significant goal. After so many setbacks, we decided to take a big step in our careers. Me and my partner were now opening up a small detail shop, just 10 minutes from Miami Beach. It took me a lot of struggles and burnout to get there, but it was a dream come true. It seemed strange yet great to have my own shop. I gave all my blood, sweat, and tears to the work I did for my new shop since I was just one step away from achieving the biggest dream of my life. The hardest aspect of it all was setting up a shop and opening it. It took us 4 months from selecting the location to developing it and purchasing all the necessary supplies and equipment. The delivery of the goods to our own shop was finished after several restless nights. My partner and I both celebrated when we finished everything because we had finally made it. I took off for a week to spend time with my old buddies from school. I needed a break after doing so much work for months. I needed to relax a bit before starting this new chapter of my life. And what could be better than spending it with your closest friends? I contacted them and found out that everyone could finally meet up. The timing was perfect. I wanted to celebrate my success with them. I had always longed for my turn when we celebrated each other's successes, and now it was my time. I was so excited. As we were going to the beach, it brought me a lot of nostalgia and memories. But if I knew what was going to happen, I would have locked the memories in my heart and moved on. My uncle had a big building near the beach. We used to stay at that place for our meetups. Like always, we all decided to rent a cabin on Chris's uncle's property. We had a week off, so I planned a lot of things. Who knew when we could get another chance like this? I was sure I was going to have the best time of my life. Coming from Miami to Kentucky in the middle of October was a complete game changer for me. Both places were completely opposite each other. Coming from everyday sunshine at 78 degrees into a bone-chilling 46 degrees was brutal to my body. I'd been fond of Kentucky all my life, but this time it gave me chills and a weird feeling. After a late flight, coming in at almost 11 p.m., we were too exhausted to do anything. We called it a night and collapsed to sleep for hours. The next morning, we caught up on everything over some delicious home-cooked breakfast. I made them breakfast the same way I used to. We discussed everything that was going on in our lives at the table. Hearing about each other's accomplishments gave me a sense of pride and joy. Chris made us laugh by telling us stories of his various weird students. I understood that teaching was challenging, but what else wasn't? He had always aspired to be a professor, so I was pleased. Andrew was an employee in an architecture company. He was saving up money to start his own business. The gossip of his coworkers and boss left us a laughing mess. I was glad as we all passed through the difficulties and made it in life. We were living our dream now. but only if I knew my dreams were going to be crushed soon. The next day, we all got our fishing gear and made our way down to the lake. The lake had usually brought me comfort and calm, but this time it felt strange. It gave me goosebumps, maybe because it had been so long since I had visited. I had forgotten what it was like to be so free. Since my life revolved solely around work, I was in need of the comfort I had been searching for months. I saw my friends getting ready for fishing. Kentucky had always been the safe place for the three of us. Whenever we were going through hard times, we used to forget about everything and come here. I could still see 3 little kids running and playing around the same lake where the 3 grown-ups were now standing. I could see us giggling and splashing water on each other. It's strange just how fast life changed. My eyes locked with Chris, who was staring at me intensely. He smiled at me, but unlike before, it didn't reach his eyes. I was unable to see the warmth in his eyes that I usually used to see. He was my safe place, but with time our interactions got more distant and formal. We used to refer to one another as therapists, but eventually we stopped talking about our issues with one another. I had always been a great observer. The feeling of something being not right was in my heart all along, but I shrugged it off. Even though it made me sad, perhaps growing up really does make people far from one another. I was still happy to have my old friends with me, as I had seen a lot of people lose touch with their friends. Being with them in our 20s, doing our favorite thing gave me some kind of relief and joy. We always had the competition of who could catch the most fish. I had always been the winner, and the memory of those sulky faces of my friends made me smile. I didn't realize I had zoned out until Andrew's voice pulled me back to reality. "Quit smiling! You look like a creep!" Andrew yelled. "All right, man. Place your bets. Who's going to be the winner of today's competition?" I smiled and smirked. "I'm gonna beat you today," Chris said the exact words he always used to say. Both of them laughed, but it didn't make me laugh, as I could not decipher his tone. His face had some cold expression which made me uncomfortable, but I shook my head and forced a smile. "Let's see," I said. The 3 of us were almost ready to venture into the lake. I saw the beautiful waves of water making noises. I felt the cold wind hitting me and shivers ran through my body. It was quite odd, as there was nobody except us on the lake. Chris and Andrew placed our things in the boat as I was putting on my life vest. I heard some whispers, but I didn't pay much attention. Before I could turn around, there came a loud bang from across the lake. I froze, as I could not understand what was happening. I didn't have time to react as I felt something pinch my side. The sudden pain made me scream. My eyes widened when I saw Andrew pulling a knife from my side, and I could feel my own blood running down it. To my horror, he did not stop. He did it again and again, and I looked at him in disbelief. My eyes started to blur, and my hands were shaking, but still, I tried to hold his hands to stop him. Andrew was my best friend. He could do me no harm. I tried to assure myself, but what I saw was saying something else. There was so much hatred in his eyes. Mixed thoughts clouded my mind, and I tried to see clearly, but nothing worked. I tried to take deep breaths, but to no avail. "How much more time?" "Shut up! It's gonna take a minute, of course." "Gosh, hurry up! What if anyone sees?" "No one's here. Calm down." I could hear their almost inaudible whispers as something around me started moving. Just before I collapsed, Chris caught me as I was falling backwards. I saw his face above me, holding no expression. I could feel Chris and Andrew placing me in the boat as I watched Andrew scoop across the lake. I turned my head toward him and saw him with his binoculars, waving his hand as if he were giving a signal to someone from across the lake. Maybe a person standing far away, but I couldn't care less at that point. The pain was unbearable. I could not even move. Could not understand why my best friends were doing this to me. I tried hard to say something, but all the energy drained out of me. I tried to mumble their names, but they couldn't hear me at all. I blacked in and out, hearing them both argue back and forth, checking my pulse every 5 minutes. Maybe I was hallucinating. Maybe it was some kind of prank. Maybe it was a nightmare. I closed my eyes and opened them again in hopes that I would wake up in my bed, but all in vain. I could not even say anything. It's as if my lips were sealed. I could hear someone digging, so I turned my head towards the noise. I was no longer in the boat, but there were trees around me everywhere. I recognized this area. It was the woods near the lake. I could see a man digging very fast, as if time were running out. Chills crept upon me as I looked back and saw my friends taking off my boots and searching through my pockets. I moved my hands and whispered, "Why?" They paused for a second, but didn't look into my eyes and continued searching through my wallet. Tears gathered in my eyes. I wanted to shout at them. I wanted to know why they were doing this, but my body was not in my control. The last thing I remembered seeing was my closest friends laughing as I felt tears streaming through my eyes, and I blacked out once more. It felt like an eternity when I opened my eyes again. I panicked when I realized I was placed in a coffin. I wanted to run away, but the throbbing pain in my body and head would not let me. I saw my friends talking to someone. Who was that person? I had never done anything bad to anyone, so who was there? Just before they closed the coffin on me, I saw my very own partner step out and show me the evil grin on his face. My mind went blank. Why would he do this to me? How could my own partner betray me like this? We've been together through thick and thin. We had suffered failure and cried together. We celebrated our success together. We had worked hard to make our business big together. All the years of working and encouraging each other flashed through my mind. Was this all a lie? I felt hurt more than just confusion. Never in my life did I think he was using me. Who could I blame when my own friends teamed up with him and chose money over my life? I tried hard to believe it was not real. After everything we've gone through together, they could not possibly be able to do this to me, right? My hopes were crushed when I watched with my very own eyes Andrew shaking hands with my partner, Francis. My breath hitched. I felt like I had been living under a rock my whole life. When did they change so much? What made them hate me so much? The three people who were the closest to me turned this evil. For what? Money? I would have ended everything for them, but they were ending me just for money. I could feel disappointment, betrayal, and hurt, but could not react. Francis's evil smirk made me want to punch him in the face. The rest of them pissed on me as they started to bury me alive. I was crying and watching my own end by the hands of my own best friends. Was all the time we spent together nothing to them? Because if it had been, they would not have left me there to die. I was in the coffin for a long time, as I was fading in and out of consciousness. Even though it was cold, my body was numb and full of sweat. I did not know what was happening outside or what time it was. For me, I thought hours and hours had passed. After a long time, I felt my body gaining some type of energy as I woke up with anger and frustration. I could not die like this. This was not my downfall. I could not let them go like this after ruining my whole life. I was not going to forgive them. I was fuming with anger. If they thought they could get away like this, they were mistaken. At that time, I made the decision to make their lives a living hell. I punched my way out of the coffin as if it were a paper wall. The only thing I desired was revenge. I jumped out of the grave with retaliation on my mind.